Good morning, good evening to everybody. Thank you very much for joining my meeting today because I'm going to talk about, to me, is a very, very important subject. It's called Kosen rufu, an act of giving, a noble act of giving. I will start. The importance of giving. Buddhism places heavy emphasis on giving. In Buddhism, there are three types of giving. Number 1, material giving. Number 2, giving of fearlessness. For example, the giving of protection from fear. Number 3, the giving of Dharma. Dharma is the Buddhist teaching, which is the law of life and the universe. Okay, number 1, giving material aid. Generosity is the wish to give. It is the wish to share. Sometimes, however, we may not have the actual means or materials to give. If that is the case, we can develop the wish to give, because it is the wish that is most important. If the wish is there, then sooner or later, our wish will come true, because we are wishing for the happiness of others. Material things, outwardly, seems to be one of the easiest things to give. But in fact, it could be quite hard. There are people who are so absorbed with themselves, their own wealth, their own belongings, and they don't know or don't want to give. At the time of the Buddha, there was an old woman who was extremely miserable. It was very difficult for her to give. Yet, it was this basic practice she had to learn. So the Buddha gave her a very simple practice. He gave her a carrot, and he asked her to give the carrot from one hand to the other to practice giving. Eventually, this concept of giving developed in her mind, and she became a giver. Now, I will talk about giving without expecting returns. It is good to give, but please try to avoid giving with the intention of wanting something bigger in return. Sometimes people give compliments to others because they want that person to return a favor. This really damages the art of giving. At one time, Shakyamuni Buddha went to a village to beg for food. There, he found two small boys named Virtue Victorious and Invincible. The two boys were playing in the dirt. Seeing the Buddha approach, Virtue Victorious wanted to make him an offering, but at the time, these boys had nothing. Hurriedly, Virtue Victorious made a mud pie and placed it in Shakyamuni's begging bowl. Invincible then looked on with his palms joined in reverence. As a result of making this effort, Virtue Victorious was later reborn as King Ashoka, and Invincible as his wife. Therefore, it is not how much or what you can give. It is your heart, sincerity, and respect that is most important. Suppose all we have is just $1, and we would give 50 or 60 or 70 cents to those in need or donate to show respect to the Buddha, then this 50 cents is worth $1 million. Just like the boys who offered Buddha a mud pie. That mud pie, offered out of respect and a wish to give, without even thinking of getting any returns, brought them huge benefits. Nichiren Daishonin, citing this story, states in his writing that the Buddha is truly worthy of respect and accepts any heartfelt offering, regardless of its material worth. We can also say that this story teaches the value of faith, which transcends personal interest or calculation. If only one has the pure spirit of faith, he can gather unimaginable good fortune, even by offering a mud pie. Let me share with you two of my experiences. Years ago, I went to Melbourne and went to the museum. There I had parked my car and found that I have to put money into the meter. But I looked at all my coins and found that I was 20 cents short. I just stood there not knowing what to do. And then a person came by and asked me what happened. I said I needed 20 cents. Without asking, he just gave me the 20 cents. And he said, don't bother to return. You know how I felt at that time? This 20 cents is worth $1 million to me. And another experience I want to share with you is, long time ago, a girlfriend of mine told me a story about her family karma. She said that the male side of her family members, like her grandfather, great-grandfather, uncles, etc., would not live past the age of 40. Her father was a very giving and kind person. My girlfriend's father always gave money to help those who died, but with no money for burial. At that time, I was told that this is the most valuable form of giving. And those deceased who had been helped would kneel and bow to the father whenever they saw him in the streets to show their appreciation. Okay, so when his father reached the age of 40, one night he bled profusely through his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. Everyone in the family thought that he would die. Incredibly, after the bleeding, he lived on. He gave and gave without asking anything in return, and as a result, he prolonged his life. President Ikeda, at a very young age, was diagnosed with tuberculosis and was told that he could not live past the age of 30. Sensei did not let this disease stop him from Kosen rufu. He worked hard on creating happiness, spreading the law, and he's now 94 years old. Number 2, the giving of fearlessness. I would combine this second giving of fearlessness with the third kind of giving, the giving of the Dharma, which is the Buddhist teaching. Because in giving other people the law, and if they accept and practice well, their fear will disappear. So instead, I would rename this second kind of giving as giving physical protection or support. For example, if we see a blind person crossing the street, we would kindly hold his arm and guide him through. Or if we see someone suddenly fall down in the street, we would immediately go to help that person or help those carrying very heavy objects beyond their physical ability. This kind of physical support would mean a lot to those in need and is an act of compassion indeed. I remember when I was traveling overseas, whenever I have to walk up the stairs with very heavy luggage in a subway station, someone would come over and offer to carry the luggage for me. And I was so appreciative and I'm so grateful for this help. Further, at time of disaster, a lot of people, including SGI members, would volunteer to help save the lives of those in danger. This is also an honorable form of giving. The third kind of giving is Dharma, which is the law of life and the law of the universe, and the teaching of the Buddha. Of all the three kinds of giving, this third act of giving is the most valuable and honorable. Of the first two kinds of giving, money and physical, could be just for one time or short-lived, because this will not help those who had been helped to learn how to live a better life or overcome their problems. But if we give them the law, the teachings of the Buddha, it will help them to help themselves and benefit for the rest of their lives. This is why this third kind of giving is considered the most valuable and honorable kind of giving. Sometimes it is not easy to share Buddhist theories with family members or friends, at which time we can try to explain the concept in an easy-to-understand manner, quoting examples of everyday life that they are already familiar with or can comprehend. Nichiren Daishonin taught us, when we try to introduce our practice to other people, first, try to think what it is that those people are familiar with. For example, if we talk to a laundry person, we talk about water. And if we talk to an ironmonger, we talk about fire. As soon as we mention something that they are familiar with, they will start to listen. My own experience is, when we talk to those less educated, we can talk about the benefits of chanting. For example, we can tell them that chanting will be heard by all the Buddhas in all over the world, and this will bring us luck, health, and happiness, and they would love to hear this. But when we talk to those highly educated and spiritual people, we must further explain about the philosophy and scientific facts of our practice, in order to avoid their thinking that we are superstitious. Below is a question which some of us may come across. It is about handling rejection. The question is, how do we deal with people who are reluctant? When we try to encourage people chanting and they reject, we could get very upset and angry. This is not a healthy attitude, is it? Well, the thing we have to realize is that person's own limitation, or the timing may not be right. But if we can keep the door open, then later on, those people might be open too. Please also remember that Nichiren Buddhism is about sowing seeds. Our mission is to sow seeds. And be rest assured that once the seeds are sown, giving the right elements and circumstances, the seeds will grow. Sometimes it could be that in future, these people will come across another person who will once again introduce them to our practice, and this time it works. So please do not be despair or discouraged if you do not see immediate results, because you have already done your part. Please also note that we must not need to keep pushing, even though they don't want it. That might just waste our time and achieve a negative result. Again, we need to use our wisdom to know the reaction of the other party. If he or she shows signs of impatience or irritation, we had better stop. This is also about caring for people's feelings and emotions, which is part of our human revolution. If, however, the person we talk to is interested, then it is our duty to follow up, to encourage them to continue practice, chant, join XGI activities, and receive the Gohonsen. There are lots of benefits of giving. Number 1, giving supports our health. Do you know that kind, giving people tend to live longer and healthier lives? They report fewer symptoms of pain and aches. Studies have shown that volunteering can lower our likelihood of dying than exercising 4 times a week. Number 2, giving to others can increase the immune system response among people with chronic illnesses. Number 3, acts of giving and kindness can also play a preventative role when it comes to our mental health. Such acts stimulate the reward endorphin in brain areas and thus make us feel good and positive. This way, we prevent ourselves from falling victim to depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. Number 4, volunteering kindness to others, giving, lower our perceived stress. We are much more in balance with our entire being. 5, helping others makes us feel good, and we can feel it both physically and mentally. People reported feeling more energetic, less depressed, and more self-worthy. This means that giving is a much more important element of happiness than receiving. 7, giving inspires further giving. This is just one of the many positive values that the art of giving brings. Apart from feeling grateful for being important to someone, the receivers very often also become inspired and wish to become givers themselves. 8, if we give to others, we are more likely to be rewarded. Giving also strengthens positive relationships, not only just between two individuals, but within a social community as well. From a small act of kindness, like giving a smile, to bigger deeds like supporting a dear friend or a member at times of despair, or helping a team member achieve something that is important to them. It is an art. Ultimately, it helps you to become a better and happier person. The purpose of our Buddhist practice might be described as enabling one person to become truly happy, and giving that person the ability to enable another person to become truly happy. In the Lotus Sutra's 18th chapter, titled The Benefits of Responding with Joy, Shakyamuni Buddha illustrates the benefit of joyfully enabling another person to hear the Lotus Sutra, or Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. It's so far-reaching, it remains forever undiluted. Its benefit is fully enjoyed by anyone who hears it and responds with joy even after being passed on 50 times. President Ikeda says, this means that just hearing about the Gohonzon and thinking, how wonderful! I'm so fortunate to learn of this teaching, produces enormous benefits. Those who respond this way and then embrace faith and share it with others according to their ability will have all their prayers answered, gain tremendous good fortune, and attain the state in which all desires are fulfilled without fail. He also writes, through faith, we can establish a state of life where, no matter what happens, we experience joy, hope, and confidence in the depth of our being. The Lotus Sutra explains 4 types of benefits enjoyed by those who hear and share, which is also giving, the mystic law. These people will, first, gain material happiness. 2, acquire the merit to become a leader in society. 3, acquire abundant wisdom and enjoy excellent health in both body and mind. Below are some interesting questions that a lot of us may come across. Number 1, I'm going through many personal struggles at the moment and was just asked to support other members. The thought of taking care of others when I can barely take care of myself overwhelms me. Please help. Answer. Your concern is understandable. We face all sorts of challenges in our daily lives that pull us in different directions. So naturally, you may feel heavy to add one or more things to your already full agenda. But from the perspective of faith, the more challenges we tackle head-on, the more opportunities we have to expand our capacity and grow as human beings. This is why a strong life condition is crucial. Specifically, supporting others in their Buddhist practice, and making efforts for Kosen rufu through SGI activities is the most direct way to improve your ability to care for yourself. President Ikeda explains, when we look after and care for others, that is, help others draw forth their life force, our own life force increases. When we help people expand their state of life, our state of life also expands. This is the wonderful thing about the Bodhisattva way. The practice for benefiting others is one and the same with the practice for benefiting ourselves. Our lives and the lives of others are ultimately inseparable. It is vital, therefore, that we follow the Bodhisattva way. President Ikeda relates a story about a young man who was struggling to strike a balance between his busy work schedule and participating in soccer activities. This situation could be very similar to a lot of us, saying that we are very busy with our own things, with our own circumstances, and we don't have time for SGI activities. It happens a lot of times to a lot of members. President Ikeda says, the crucial thing is to determine to do your absolute best both at work and in soccer gaka activities, and to find time to earnestly chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo about your situation. You have to bring forth your wisdom and life force, and then exercise your creativity. No matter how tough our situation is, through the process of challenging ourselves in the SGI and exerting ourselves for the sake of Kosen rufu, you will be able to transform your state of life, and do your human revolution, accumulating benefit and good fortune along the way. Therefore, taking responsibility and participating in SGI activities is the greatest opportunity to do human revolution and transform all of your hardships into benefits. Well, I remember when I first started to practice, a senior member taught me. She said, before you do anything, chant first, and everything will become easy. You may think that you have tons of jobs in your hands and you cannot handle. But go to the Gohansen and chant. And then one by one, everything will solve themselves out. So again, talking about myself. When I was at the lowest point of my life, with very low self-esteem, my senior member said to me, stop crying. You are not dying and your house is not falling down. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, which a lot of us may do. Go and help and support others. I did, and as I was taught, and very soon my whole situation turned around, and I felt very good about myself because I was able to encourage other members to overcome their problems and become happy. And when they are happy, I'm happy. Number 2, the question is, I'm quite new to chanting and don't know much about Nichiren Buddhism. How can I encourage others to practice? The answer is chicken and egg. Does the chicken come first or the egg? Yes, we may not know much about the philosophy, but as soon as we feel the power of chanting or know the power of chanting, it is our mission to tell other people about it so they can practice and overcome their problems and attain happiness. It's okay when we are being asked questions and do not know the answers. Well, this only tells us what we don't know and what we need to learn. We can always say that we cannot answer the questions at the moment, but we will try to find out the answers. So what we don't know is exactly what we need to learn and know. The answers we find will not only help the one who has the question, but will also help ourselves. Number 3, the question is, I don't have the courage to tell our friends about chanting because I'm afraid that they will say I'm superstitious or I don't know what they will think about me. So the answer is, courage comes from compassion. If we have enough compassion and know that chanting will help everyone, we will definitely want to share and give. When we say we don't have the courage or are afraid of what others will think of us, then we can be considered selfish. We only care about ourselves and how we look, instead of caring for others' happiness. This requires serious human revolution. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is a very precious gift, worth $1 trillion or more than $1 trillion. If we have this in mind, would we be afraid of giving this wonderful gift to others? And would others reject $1 trillion? Now we go on to Buddhist compassion. The essence of Buddhism is compassion. We too need to have compassion, but being ordinary mortals, the reality is that it is quite difficult for us. Courage substitutes for compassion. We are speaking of the courage to save others from suffering. To practice Buddhism with courage translates into compassion. Well, most of us can admit to being self-centered at times, thinking first of ourselves and only then of the others. Self-concern, of course, is an important part of living. We need to feed, clothe, and obtain shelter for ourselves and be attentive to our long-term welfare. But when self-interest becomes the dominant force in our lives, it can cause us to act insensitively and even harmful towards others. Buddhism in particular highlights the fundamental connection between our personal well-being and that of others. Many of us have experienced a sense of fulfillment from going out of our way to help another person. Doing so lets us step beyond what may be our usual self-centeredness, and this, it turns out, allows positive feelings and qualities to arise within us. This is why compassion form an essential part of Buddhist practice. In Nichiren Buddhism, we practice both for our own happiness and for the happiness of others, and in the process, develop faith in our own and all people's potential to attain enlightenment. But number 4 question is, how can we muster compassion, especially when we just aren't feeling it? For us, the prayers and actions we take in the course of our Buddhist practice, in our activities as SGI members, cause genuine compassion to awake within us. President Todas once said, the essence of Buddhism is compassion. We too need to have compassion, but being ordinary mortals, the reality is that it is quite difficult for us. This is why introducing others to Buddhism can be seen as the primary practical means for awakening and giving expression to true compassion. Because it enables people to attain a state of indestructible happiness, it is an act that in itself embodies great compassion. When we actively take part in SGI activities, encouraging others through sharing our own experiences, or breaking through our problems through faith, visiting fellow members to chant and study together, and offering our heartfelt support, we are taking courageous action based on Buddhist compassion. We find ourselves breaking through our lesser self-centered selves and develop a vast, boundless life state and a broad, generous heart. We naturally find ourselves working earnestly for the happiness of others, to better society, and to protect and propagate the mystic law. Well, while it is easy to identify others' weak points, it is harder to see and appreciate their strong points. But if we focus on the strong points and the good points, we will naturally come to appreciate, feel closer, and respect others. Well, a lot of us are used to criticize, saying this is no good, that is no good. But if we can forget all the negativity and look at the good points, then we and others will become much happier. Compassion includes the ability to recognize in others strengths and capabilities that we ourselves may be lacking. If we criticize others of something, maybe it is that something we already have in ourselves. As a result, we may find ourselves, if we try to appreciate others' good qualities, as a result, we may find ourselves thinking of others more often and feeling concerned about their well-being. Talking about myself, before I started practicing Nichiren Buddhism, I was engaged in a very tough interior design business with lots of problems and difficult and tight deadlines to meet. Therefore, I had become totally inconsiderate and insensitive to others' feelings, abilities, and conditions, demanding them to exert all their energy and effort to achieve my goals. But after practicing Nichiren Buddhism, I was taught that the primary objective of our practice is Kosen rufu, which is based on caring, giving, and supporting other people. Slowly, I changed and become more considerate and sensitive to other people's needs and feelings. And in return, my human relationships have become better and better. So now let's go on to talk about Kosen rufu. In summary, Kosen rufu is the best, most comprehensive, valuable, and noble act of giving, because Kosen rufu involves all of the above 3 or 4 kinds of giving. Number 1, monetary contributions. Members are encouraged to contribute to support the expenses of SGI centers, because our organization is not a business organization, and all incomes are contributions from members. Sometimes I hear of members contributing because they want something back. For example, a member donated $200, but ultimately wished that she would get $2,000 back in return. This, in fact, is not real contribution. It's an act of bribing the Gohansen or doing business with the Gohansen, concentrating on ROI, which is return on investment. Of course, every act of giving will generate some form of returns, but the returns are very, very limited. On the other hand, if it is from our own hearts, genuinely wanting to support SGI for the happiness of people, then our return will be limitless. Well, I would here mention that there is a rule for SGI members not to borrow nor lend money to other members, nor do business, nor sell anything to other members. The reason being that once monetary issues are involved, there may be conflicts, disputes, which will affect our faith and practice. Number 2, physical support. A. Before the pandemic, members are encouraged to visit other members to encourage and support. This requires physical efforts. B. Members also take part to prepare and support and take part in activities like organizing training courses, meetings, performances, celebrations, etc. I know of some SGI members in Australia. They undertook to offer transportation for members from other states to transport them from the airport to the centers. 3. In 2011, Hong Kong had a really big celebration, and it held a big cultural show. wherein 3,000 members participated in the performance at the huge Hong Kong Expo Center. At that time, Chloe and Brittany also took part in it, and everyone had to practice several times a week for 6 months before the actual performance, despite their studies and their heavy work schedule. Chloe took part in dancing. At one time, Chloe twisted her legs while practicing and had to walk with a supporting stick. But as soon as she had to start practice, she would put away the stick and try her best to dance despite of the pain. Right after the practice, she would use the stick again for support. That was her giving spirit. D. Members also volunteer to clean the centers, help in gardening and mailing of SGI publications. E. At times of disaster, SGI members from other countries would actually go to the disaster areas to save lives and support those affected. F. To attend SGI meetings is also an important form of giving. Giving your energy and time to support, encourage, and in return, we get encouraged. This is why I would encourage everyone to attend as many SGI meetings as possible. Number 3, the third kind of giving, the giving of the law. The phrase Kosen rufu in Chinese means widely spread the mystic law, like flowing water, covering all parts of the world. In order to achieve the above, we need not only to give monetary contributions to SGI organizations, offer physical support to SGI member activities, but also we need to exert constant effort to spread the law, like flowing water, to everyone in the world and encourage them to chant and practice to attain absolute happiness. Finally, I would like to share with you my thoughts and observations about what's going on in the world and why I would take so much time to arrange for today's topic. In 1989, after I immigrated to Canada, one day I heard my Canadian neighbor's little child, about 5 years old, calling his father an asshole. He said, "You are an asshole." I was shocked. Is this the way that children are brought up? Further, I have observed that in the last couple of decades, parents are busy working and making money, and they have little time to coach their children. Because these families normally only have 1 or 2 children, and because they cannot spend time with them, these parents will try to give everything to their children to compensate, resulting in spoiled, selfish, and self-centered young people. These young people only think of themselves and nobody else. They don't know or are not taught to give. They expect everything to be given to them as a matter of fact. They take everything for granted. This is very worrying. They have not been taught the virtues of 忠孝仁愛信義和平. Translating in English, it means loyalty, kindness to your parents, compassion, love, trust, justice, harmony, and peace. All these virtues that older Chinese families and schools would teach their children are now missing. Then whose fault is this? The school and the parents. Therefore, I would urge everyone who attend this lecture or listen to this video would seriously learn how to teach and raise the children to be giving, respectable, supportive, responsible, and honorable people, which will eventually bring forth world peace. I would also urge everyone to start giving or start to want to give, especially contributing to Kosen rufu, attending SGI meetings, support SGI activities for the happiness of ourselves, our children, and our people. Thank you very much. Thank you.